Okay, Shannon, you can put us on the record.
Go ahead, Judge.
Okay, this is the matter of Negus versus Gates. Both parties are present, as well as Ms. Berger on behalf of Mr. Gates. So we're here on a evidentiary hearing on a request for change of custody. So Ms. Berger, are you ready to proceed?
I am, Your Honor.
Anything preliminary?
Just a couple of things. I didn't know if the court wanted this just strictly as a change of circumstance hearing, or if you wanted to hear the best interest factors as well. The minor, sorry.
I would want to hear testimony about the change of circumstance first.
Okay.
But assuming that's established, then we would move forward with the rest.
The next thing I would like to know, because I believe Jameson is with his mom, so I just want to make sure Jameson is the child, that he is not in the presence of what is going on in this hearing.
Can you confirm that, Ms. Negus?
Correct. He is downstairs with a babysitter and I'm upstairs, so he cannot see or hear anything that's going on.
Okay, thank you.
And then last, we would like the court to take judicial notice of the 2 prior show causes that have been filed and heard by this court, as far as the texts and all of the information that was provided to the court and the court's ruling on those.
I will do so.
Okay. Then I would just get going. I don't have anything else preliminarily.
Okay, you'd like to call Mr. Gates, I assume?
I would, please, Your Honor.
Mr. Gates, would you raise your right hand, please? You do swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
You can put your hand down. Just state your full name for the record, please.
John Richard Gates Jr.
Go ahead, Ms. Berger.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor. So, John, when you guys had got divorced, a parenting time order was put in place, is that correct?
It is
And when was that?
November of 2018.
Okay. And was there another order entered for parenting time after that?
There was not.
Okay. And to say you guys were still a little contentious at the time of the divorce, would that be correct?
Yes,
Okay. Has that changed since the time of the divorce?
it has.
And how has that changed?
Progressively, Diane's behavior has gotten more erratic. It's gotten more hostile. It's gotten violent at times. It's just slowly progressed from just being angry to just outright, just hostility and acting out on the anger instead of just voicing it.
Okay. Diane has threatened to kill you, correct?
On 2 occasions, yes.
Okay. And those were actually voice recorded.
Yes, they were.
That was during a telephone conversation?
It was.
Okay, Judge, if you'd like to hear the telephone conversation, I have that. I just don't know how well it will come over between the 2 computers. So
How lengthy are they?
they're not real lengthy. It's just if we can hear it. So I'd like to play one telephone conversation that was on, which date was that? September 17th of last year, in which the telephone conversation was between you and Diane, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. So, and this was recorded by you?
Yes, it was.
Okay, so I'd like to go ahead and play that. Hopefully we can pick it up.
Doing this to me. Haven't you done enough?
Nobody is doing anything to you.
You continue to make me my life a living hell. I am tormented every day because of you and because of her. My life will never be the same, you selfish fuck. You don't consider that at all, do you?
Diane.
No, you continue to try to fuck with me. And I can't stand it and I can't take it. I will go pick him up today.
You will not.
If you cared about him, if this wasn't about you, or about you getting back at me, that right there is another thing that pisses me off. Because you know what he wants doesn't fucking matter to you. Why doesn't it matter to you what he fucking wants, John? Why doesn't he fucking matter to you? Why is it about you? Always. Why can't it be about him?
Diane, if he didn't matter to me, I wouldn't fight so hard for my time.
If he matters to you, you would let him come see his mom like he fucking wants to.
He will at 6:30. I will be picking him up today.
I am gonna fucking kill you one of these days because you keep fucking with me. Watch your fucking back and your fucking whore. Tell her that
All right, and that was in September of last year.
Correct.
Okay, I could hear that clearly.
Okay, great. And was that the only time that that type of conversation has happened?
No, it was not.
Okay. So, and there was a second call that was made on what date?
This one's actually before, it was September 15th
And this
of 2020.
September 15th of 2020. Okay.
Hello?
Can you answer that one question for me?
What, Diane? I don't
What, John? I'm sorry if it fucking annoys you.
I don't
You can
understand.
have a conversation with me.
Well, then you can stop by getting snotty right off the bat.
What? Then watch your fucking tone, John.
What tone?
Will you,
What tone?
the tone you took as soon as I asked you, will you answer that one question for me?
What question?
Will you have a conversation with me sometime? No? It's funny.
Okay.
It's funny.
So-
It's fucking funny, John. I don't fucking kill you. It's fucking funny. It's not fucking funny, you piece of shit.
Okay. So, are those the type of conversations that you have regularly with her?
Yes, it was.
All right, do any of the conversations spill over while Jameson was present?
Yes,
Okay, so the swearing, all of that,
yes,
and Jameson was your child is present.
yes.
And there was a recording of one conversation you had, is that correct?
Correct.
And what date was that?
February 7th of this year while she was in jail.
Okay, so that's right, because the judge show caused her and she spent 30 days in jail, correct?
Correct,
And she called you from the jail,
correct.
and this was the conversation you had from the jail.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead. Can't hear that one.
What are you talking about, Diane? I am not.
You are. You already fucking petitioned. I don't know what you called in your mind.
Diane, we're not talking about this. You either talk to Jameson or we hang up. No, I'm not listening. No, you either talk to Jameson or I'm hanging up. We're not talking about this.
You know, if I'm coming home next Sunday, would you consider being a decent with me and letting him come see me one day after school?
No, it's my dad. You can see him on Wednesday after school. We already had this discussion. I told you you can FaceTime him.
You be a decent fucking human being, okay? Put my fucking phone down.
You should probably think about changing your ad.
Okay, so in that last time when she just called you that name, was Jameson on the line?
I had walked back into his bedroom to hand him the phone.
Okay, and that's because Diane asked you to put him back on the phone.
Correct.
So Jameson heard that interaction.
Yes.
Does she do that while you're FaceTiming with him?
Yes, she
Him
has.
being Jameson?
Yes, she has.
There was an incident where she was literally screaming about you sending her to jail, and Jameson was in that conversation, correct?
Yes,
And that was a FaceTime?
correct.
What happened during that conversation?
She had called me immediately, FaceTimed me immediately after the hearing where the judge had ordered her to serve the 30 days and wanted me to explain to Jameson why or his dad was sending mommy to jail.
And that was a conversation actually she was having in the background of your telephone call,
Yes,
correct?
yes,
All right. So then the judge ordered her to pay $100, correct? Or go to jail. Okay. And she actually, did she talk to you about the payment of the $100?
yes. There was a conversation where she had asked me to, after I think he had given her 14 days to pay it, or 10 days, something like that. At the end of that time, she had actually called me and asked me to tell the judge that she had paid me when in fact she hadn't.
So she wanted you to lie to the court about
Correct.
it. Okay. So I know there's a ton more recordings that have to do with the same type of language, same type of conduct, and we don't have time to play those. But how many phone conversations would you say?
Too many,
Too many.
too many.
Okay. So while she was in jail, she called you, and she has a right to talk to Jameson, correct?
Yes,
Okay. But during those times, she went around the Jameson conversation and was going with you.
yes,
Correct. And at some point you hung up on her at one conversation, correct? Okay. Did she try to connect with like a third party to try to get you to talk to her?
she did. She actually called my ex-sister-in-law and had her, I don't remember if she called or texted me. And then when I didn't respond to that, she had one of her friends three-way call me, with Diane being on the line.
Okay. All right. So that's kind of the incidents too. One other incident that you had mentioned in your motion was about a cat. Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, and this was addressed in one of the prior show causes, but Jameson's cat had to be put down. She had called and wanted me to pay half or the roughly $300 for the vet bill on the cat. When I refused, she got hostile. There were repeated phone calls and text messages about why I wouldn't let Jameson get out of school early so he could come home and bury his cat. Why I was a piece of shit because I wouldn't let her do that. How she had to carry this dead cat around in her car, how she was going to bring it to my house and leave it on my doorstep. Just continuous about that. And it was a week or so, a couple weeks later also that she had mentioned to me that Jameson was singing happy birthday over the cat's grave, I guess.
So all of these things that we've just kind of hit on, the phone calls, the outbursts, the uncontrollable outbursts, the, driving around with a dead cat saying it's just going to leave it on. That's what you're referring to as her emotional instability.
Correct.
Okay. So then there's some other issues that you took issue with. Like I said, we can go on for days about the stuff that she's done that we just talked about, but we'll skip to the next thing. There's some issues with school, and you kind of just brought up a little point of it. What is your concerns about school in Jameson?
His absences, his tardies. He gets routinely picked up early on Fridays, and it's granted it's only maybe 5-10 minutes, if that. But in my mind, I'm certain it's just so that she can avoid seeing me at parent pickup, because I'm there to pick up another child also. But most recently, on the 19th of March, he was absent from school. I texted Diane that Friday evening and asked her if he was absent. She replied the next day that he was, said that he wasn't feeling good. He had been around some other kids that weren't feeling good. So I just kind of left it be that he was sick. And Sunday, when I picked him up, As I normally do when he gets in the truck, I ask him how his weekend was. And his response was, I had to take care of mommy on Friday, the Friday that he was absent, because she didn't feel good.
But Diane had lied to you about why she kept Jameson out of school.
Yes,
Okay. And you also have that conversation recorded because, let me step back here. During the times that you go for exchanges with Diane, do you record everything?
yes, I do,
And why is that?
because I don't trust her. Her behavior has been so unpredictable. I do it to protect myself.
And part of that is because you actually had to call the cops before because she was prohibiting you from leaving areas. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. So kind of back to where we were. So you were recording that not just to get her doing something wrong, it was for your own safety, correct?
Correct.
And you picked up at an exchange and you said that was on the 19th of this month?
The 19th was the absence. The exchange would have been the 21st.
Okay. And so Jameson explained kind of the situation that led up to it.
Correct.
So he had gotten in the car.
And basically, we just chit chat while I wait for him to get buckled into his car seat. And until I pull out of the driveway, I keep the recording going. And again, I just asked him how his weekend was, and he volunteered.
Okay, so this would be the recording. Go ahead.
Did you have a good weekend?
Yeah.
That's good.
On Friday, I did take care of my mom because she didn't feel good.
You did?
Okay. So the comment was, if I heard that right, on Friday, I had to take care of my mom because she didn't feel good.
Yes.
How old is Jameson?
He's 6.
Is that Jameson's responsibility to take care of mom?
No.
And some other incidents that we had talked about is these absences correspond to certain dates.
Yes.
Can you tell me about that?
Many of them have been the day after the cause hearings.
So she keeps him home after last time she got in trouble. So she just keeps him home for no reason.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So then, and you have issues with her just pulling him obviously out of class or not taking him into school, right?
Yeah, with his tardies, being late for school. And like I said, him getting pulled out early on Fridays just to avoid contact with me.
Okay. Some of the other issues that you'd mentioned in your motion had to do with things that are happening at Diane's house that you find disturbing, correct?
Yes.
Can you tell me, one of the first ones was sleeping with her still?
Correct.
Can you explain that?
The co-sleeping has been going on for a long time, even when we were still together. He has a bedroom available to him that we actually built before he was born so that he would have his own room. So the ability is there, but his bed is in her bedroom. According to him, they routinely sleep in the same bed together. I don't feel it's appropriate for a child of his age to be sleeping with his mom still, but
You've discussed this with Diane.
I have.
And what is her excuse?
She feels it is entirely appropriate.
And why does she think that he should be sleeping in her bed at age 6?
That so she can comfort him, so that they can spend that time together.
And talk to like a physician or somebody like that about this co-sleeping?
I did talk to his physician's assistant, or the physician's assistant at his pediatrician's office.
Okay. And that was not.
Sure, hold on. There's a telephone ringing
I
somewhere.
know, I'm trying to get it. It just went up. Right. Sorry about that.
All right.
I thought I had that one undone, but I didn't. So you had talked to his pediatrician and they said that probably should not be happening.
That is correct.
Okay. Diane doesn't care. Would you say that?
No, she thinks it's appropriate. And it is done
And how does he sleep at your house?
in his own bedroom.
Okay. And you had him for those full 30 days that he was in jail, correct?
Hold on, I'm getting, Ms. Negus, I think I'm getting something over your end. Is there something else in the room with you?
No, sir.
I don't know if it's feedback or what, but I keep hearing something that's making it hard to hear others. Do you mind if I just mute you? If you
Sure.
need to say something, you can just unmute. I think it's coming from yours because it's highlighting. It might just be some interference, but it makes it a little hard for me to hear.
Okay.
Go ahead, Ms. Berger.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so Jameson stayed with you for the 30 days that Diane was in jail, correct?
Correct.
Did you have any sleep issues with Jameson that entire time?
He had one, and that was it.
A one what?
One nightmare.
One nightmare. Okay, and what did you do to comfort him on that?
Went in and stayed with him until he was calm and laid him back down, and he went right back to sleep.
Okay. So is there any reason why Jameson should be sleeping in, as far as you know, sleeping in the same bed as Diane?
No.
Okay. There was also an issue you said where you've learned that Diane is still taking showers or baths with Jameson.
Jameson told me that he showers with his mom.
Okay. And at his age, do you believe that should be happening?
No.
Okay. Okay, so we had talked a little bit about, there was an incident where she blocked you in a driveway. Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, it was the day of his kindergarten roundup. Because of everything being virtual at the school, it was essentially a drive-through operation. The intent was that we would be in separate vehicles and just be able to stop and talk to the teacher. Well, once we got there, found out that, first of all, let me just back up. She wanted to ride in the same vehicle as us. And I said no, because again, because of her behavior, I didn't trust that it was going to be a pleasant outcome. So once we got up to where the teachers were, they wouldn't allow her to get out of the vehicle and talk to the teachers. Again, we didn't know that. I didn't know that going into it. But so she wound up leaving. I don't remember if it was a phone call or a text message that she was waiting for us at my house. When I told her that we weren't going to my house, that Jameson was going to my mom's, because we had previously arranged for him to go spend the afternoon with my mom before school started. She wound up coming over there, and there was an incident in my mom's driveway. She got out of her car. She'd parked behind my truck at the end of the driveway, got out of her vehicle, approached me in the driveway, was yelling, screaming, at one point came after me with her fist raised. I took a step back. I did put my hands up to defend myself. She backed down, then went over and got into my wife's face, started yelling at her. So we backed out and got into my truck, and she came over to the passenger side, attempted to open the passenger side door of my truck where my wife was sitting. In the meantime of all of this happening, our then 5-year-old daughter was sitting in the back seat of the truck, witnessed all this. Jameson was inside my mom's house. He could hear what was going on. Harmony could hear what was going on from the truck. When we got in the truck, she was bawling her eyes out, scared to death. I asked Diane to leave. She said she wasn't leaving. So I called 911 and Blackman responded. She wound up leaving just prior to Blackman's arrival.
So not only has Diane, this conduct been in front of your own child, but now we're involving a separate other innocent child in the situation.
Yes.
Okay. So do you know, and only if you know, about Diane's employment?
To my knowledge, she's unemployed and has been since she quit her job with the state last February.
Okay. And do you know anything about her financial state? I believe in one of the texts that I saw rambling was she was asking you for money.
She's, yeah, on maybe one or two occasions. She's thrown the friend of the court that we opted out of at me several times as a threat. Just holding that over my head that she has that option. And again, I have no problem taking care of my son. I pay for everything when he's with me. I pay for his gymnastics that he goes to 100%. I pay for all of his haircuts. I pay for co-pays at doctor's visits.
Okay. So is there, anything else that I've missed? I know we can talk more about all the stuff that she's done as far as her emotional side, but we don't have all day for it. So is there anything else that's big that you think I've missed?
Just again, the continuous harassment over Thursday parenting time, telling me that I should go jump in front of a bullet, telling me that Jameson isn't even really my kid and that she really just wants me to back off.
And that was that, wasn't it?
No, that was a voicemail.
Okay.
That was a phone call that I had recorded.
Okay. So during a phone call, she told you that Jameson wasn't even yours.
Yes, and she's told me that on more than one occasion.
Okay. So is there anything else then other than what we just spoke about?
Nothing else that really stands out. It's just, for the last 3 years, it's just been more of the same and just progressively getting worse.
Okay. So more violence, more instability, emotional instability, things like that. Your schooling is an issue.
Yes.
Okay. All right. I don't have anything further at this time, Your Honor.
So Ms. Negus, are there any questions you would like to ask of Mr. Gates?
Can you hear me?
I can now, yes.
After listening to all that, I think maybe I should have an attorney present. The allegations that he's making, no, there's nothing that I'd like to ask him directly.
All right.
I guess
I'll give you a chance to tell your side of the story. Okay, on the issue of changed circumstance, I think there's enough of a record that's been made. So I at least revisit the issue of custody. That doesn't mean I'm going to change custody. It just means that the legal threshold is met for me to look at the issue. So you may continue then, Ms. Berger, with the best interest factors. And let me let everyone know, I am going to have to stop at 4 o'clock today because I won't have anyone at the courthouse after 4 to make sure that everything gets placed on the record. So anyway, if we don't finish, I'll find some time to get you back in as quickly as I can.
I always forget to unmute myself, so thank you. I appreciate that. So then I would just ask my client a few more questions then. Okay, John, I don't think you dispute that Jameson loves you both.
Correct.
Okay, that you guys, both of you have ties to Jameson. He would go to both of you.
Correct.
Okay. One of the factors is the ability for the parent to give the child love, affection, and guidance in the education and the raising of the child in any religion. Do you guys attend church?
We do not.
Okay, so religion is not an issue.
Correct.
So the issues as far as giving a love and an affection and guidance, I would assume that the love and affection is not an issue with you. What about guidance?
As far as me giving him guidance, no. I have concerns about the guidance that he's receiving at Diane's house. Just in regards to, I guess the best way to put it is that she's using him as an emotional support tool. I think that she leans on him too much and expects too much out of a 6-year-old to help her maintain her own emotional stability.
And that was kind of, I guess I would liken that to the conversation where he said he had to stay home from school to care for his mom.
Yes.
Okay. And those are the type of thing that you're referring
Yes.
to. Okay. And where do you currently work?
Hillsdale County Sheriff's Office,
And how long have you worked there?
21 years.
And what's your position there?
I am a sergeant supervisor.
Okay. And so obviously you make wages, you get insurance, you have all of that available to you?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And is Jameson on your healthcare insurance?
He's on my wife's health
Okay.
care.
But you and your wife provide care insurance for him?
Yes.
Okay. Do you help with going to the doctor, making doctor's appointments, attending doctor's appointments?
Yes.
Okay. Haley, who's or your wife, does help out every once in a while, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Are you able to provide Jameson with food, with clothing? He's a young boy. He grows like every month or so. So do you have enough funds or income to pay for all of that?
Yes.
Okay. What about housing? Are you able to afford places to live?
Yes.
You don't have to give me an address, but where do you currently live?
City of Jackson.
In the city of Jackson. Okay. And how long have you lived there?
2.5 years.
Okay. Do you have any plans on moving?
Potentially, if we do, though, it's to my grandparents' house, which is a family farm.
Okay, but not in the near future?
No.
Okay. And you have a place for Jameson to sleep. You also have a stepdaughter, correct?
Yes.
And you have a place for her to sleep.
Yes.
Okay. What kind of house is it?
It's a 2-story,
How many bedrooms?
4.
4 bedroom. Okay, so plenty of room. All right. And you just said you are married,
Yes.
have a stepchild.
Yes.
Okay. I heard her call you daddy earlier. So is that what you consider?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have any physical issues that would preclude you from caring for Jameson?
No.
Okay. Have you had any psychological issues?
No.
Okay. So Jameson, with the way that you have it, if he's in your home through the school, would you have any issues taking him to school, getting him to school every day?
No.
Okay. What about with Diane? We've kind of touched on it, but we'll touch on it again.
She has 2 days a week that she's responsible for getting him to school. 1 day that she's responsible for picking him up. And he's been tardy, I think, 5 times. He's been absent 3 times. And I don't even know for sure how many Fridays that he's been taken out of school early.
So you have concerns over Diane's ability to continue to get him to school, do what she's supposed to do, need to do for Jameson.
Yes.
Okay. You had been able to kind of work with parenting with Diane in the past of, maybe helping each other out, saying, okay, you can have him this time. Would that be true?
Yes.
Recently, that's become more difficult, would you say?
Yeah.
And why is that?
It started with COVID. There was a several week span that, because of my wife working in the prison system and the outbreaks that they had, plus it was at the early stages of it and not really knowing what was going on with it, I agreed to forego my in-person parenting time for that period. Getting that back was a struggle with her. Making up any of that time was a struggle. Trying to establish any sort of schedule to make that up was nearly impossible, because every time I suggested something, she would tell me that she's not willing to commit to anything.
So, and lately, we kind of heard that about your parenting time, and you'd said, she asked to have an additional parenting time, and you said no. Why would that be?
Because he's continuously harassing me issues about picking him up on my Thursday afternoons for the 2 or 3 hours that is divorce order.
Okay. So she wants you to give up your parenting time. Is that what you're telling me?
Yes, because I'm interrupting her time with him.
Okay. And we've kind of talked about domestic violence, which is another of the factors that the judge looks at, and that wouldn't be any different than what you've already testified to. Would that be correct?
Correct.
Okay. Is there anything else that you want the court to know then about the change of custody itself?
Just that I'm not trying to take him away from her. That's not my goal. My goal is to make sure that he is in an environment where he can thrive, and that he is in an environment where he is not responsible for being the caretaker of his parent at 6 years old. And quite honestly, I just want her to get herself straight. I want her to get her head straight. Again, I'm not looking to take him away from her. That's not my goal. But I want to know that he's safe, and I want to know that his mental health is good, and that he's healthy emotionally going to school.
Right. So in your motion, you asked that the court allow you to have sole physical custody and that she be granted parenting time in every other weekend. Is that correct?
I would be fine with every weekend, but yeah, that's
okay. And you've also asked that Jamison be placed into counseling.
Yes.
Okay. You've discussed this with Diane before, correct?
I have.
To try to help him work through all of these issues that is going on.
Yes.
And what was her response to that?
She brought up a service, and I suggested someone that our pediatrician had recommended, that we'd actually taken Harmony, my stepdaughter, to for ADHD evaluation. And after determining that the place that she had recommended was only doing the counseling sessions via Zoom and mine was doing it in person, we decided that the in-person would probably be the better option, just based on the ability of a 6-year-old to focus on Zoom. So I made the appointment, got the referral the day of the appointment. After allowing this, she told me that she didn't want him going there, as I was sitting in the parking lot waiting to go inside. Said that this guy didn't focus on children, that she felt that it was somebody that I had chosen just because there was already a relationship with my family. She said that it was because they have an office in Hillsdale and it was somebody that I was familiar with through that, but just did not, absolutely refused to have him go.
Okay, so you never took him into the counselor then because she refused?
No, actually I did.
Oh, because she'd already agreed?
Yep, because she'd already agreed to it and I had already had the appointment made.
Okay. All right. And you also asked that the court order plaintiff into counseling?
Yes.
And Diane into counseling?
Yes.
And do you think that would be helpful?
Yes.
Okay. I don't have anything else then at this time.
Ms. Negus, do you have any questions at this point?
I don't have any questions. I guess would like the opportunity to.
Okay, I think, Ms. Berger, you didn't have any other witnesses today, did you?
No.
Okay, Ms. Negus, this is your turn to testify then, and you can address anything that was raised to give your side of the story, your version of the facts, and you can also address anything else you think it would be important for me to know about in deciding what's best for your son, okay?
Okay.
Okay. Need you to raise your right hand first so I can put you under oath. You do swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
State your full name, please.
Diane Marie Negus.
Negus, sorry for mispronouncing it. Go ahead, Ms. Negus.
I'd like to start out by saying there are several times that I've reached out to John via text and asked him if he has concerns or questions or an issue with my parenting, that he would reach out to me and have a discussion about it. John's communication skills are nearly non-existent, which is why he spent the duration of our marriage living a double life. But he has a hard time with if I take issue. When I found out John was working 2 of the 3 nights that our son is at his house, he's working 3rd shift, so he's not even home to care for Jameson. If Jameson wakes up and has a night terror, he doesn't have his mom or his dad there to comfort him. He might have his stepmom. If she's not home, then he has a babysitter. So, but when things like that come up and I have an issue with it, I approach him directly. I mean, it's no secret that maybe I'm a little too direct, but he doesn't seem to want to do the same for me. So some of these issues that he's saying that he has with my parenting, this is the first I'm hearing about them. And I've asked him repeatedly, I'm not a perfect person, nor am I a perfect parent. And I don't always know or realize, the things that I'm doing. So please have a conversation with me and address these with me. Most of what he has put on the record today, he's never directly addressed with me. He takes issue with my believing the words of a 6-year-old. And well, why would you believe what he says? He's only 6. For example, when Jameson came home and made the comment that he'd been home alone at his dad's house because dad works 3rd shift. Haley was gone, and the live-in babysitter / housekeeper that is somehow related to Haley came walking into the door with her work clothes on, leaving him to believe that she had just come home from work, and that since my dad and stepmom were gone, that led me to believe that he'd been possibly home alone. Both children had been left home alone. When I tried to reach out to John, and again, because if there's something I take issue with, I'm going to try to talk to him about it. He got extremely defensive. I didn't approach it in a way that accused him of anything. All I did was I told him that Jameson had made a couple comments. He had made those comments similar to the comment he made in Dad's truck. It was unprovoked, and it was in a way that he'd mentioned it a couple different times, and the details, the things he said were the same or similar both times. So he said it in a way that made me think there was something to that. And when I approached John about it, I simply asked him, I told him what Jameson said, and asked him if he would please check his security cameras in his home to make sure that this person that he's leaving in charge of our son and his stepdaughter while he's gone is actually doing what she is supposed to be doing and not, in fact, leaving or doing things that she shouldn't be doing. And yes, he did not want to do that. He wasn't going to have that discussion with me. And as a matter of fact, he refused at first, and it took him more than a few days to finally text me again and kind of level with me about it. But again, the absences, and the tardies, I can't, if my son, and especially in the midst of a pandemic, mentions not feeling well or his head hurts or whatever the case may be, I'm not going to send him to school so that he can make those comments at school and be sent home, and then I be chastised. Or I'm not. I'd rather err on the side of caution, and if he's not feeling well, to stay home. As far as the tardies, he's had a handful of tardies throughout the entire school year. I'm not the greatest morning person, okay, but if it's something that is getting to the point where it's an issue for John, why doesn't he? I don't understand why he can't come to me and say, hey, as far and the tardies, he's maybe 5 times. He's not missing class. He's not. I'm not trying to say they're okay, because they're not. But there have been a few times that we've pulled up to the school as the aides and everybody are already inside. And I could let him out of the car and send him in, but I walk him in. And at that point, once I walk in with him, they'll have me sign him in. Again, if it's something that is an issue for John, I don't know why he can't approach me directly about it. And as the comment about Jameson saying he had to take care of me, again, is something that John's never addressed with me directly. My back was very sore that day. As a matter of fact, I believe I slept on the couch the night before. I do a lot of work around my home, and I do a lot of it by myself, and it's hard. And I am sore a lot, and I am tired a lot. After spending the time in jail, when I got home, my cold water line had burst in my kitchen and been spraying everywhere for at least 2 days. And so my entire house was full of water. I had 6 inches of water in my basement, at my furnace, which was only a few years old, around my brand new hot water heater. Are there times that I don't move around well, or that I'm so? Yes, I don't have a live-in maid like John does. I don't have a live-in nanny, somebody that helps me. I do a lot of it on my own. So for me to have a day where I'm sore, which is, again, happens quite often, and for him to try to use that against me, I don't understand. My son doesn't take care of me. I take care of my son. Does he, when I'm hurting and limping around, does he try to come over and help me? Yes. Is he really helping me? No. He's 5, 6 years old, almost 7. I'm not really going to lean on his shoulder and have him help me walk to the kitchen. He thinks he's helping, and I play along to make him feel good. But it's never been a situation where my son is caring for me. That's absurd. And the cat thing, this cat story keeps coming up over and over. John doesn't help me financially. From the time John moved out, John has never felt obligated to. John wanted to walk away from our family and walk right into a new one, and care for those people, and he's never felt obligated to help me. He did pay a little bit of child support while we were going through our divorce, but at our divorce hearing, I had my attorney draw up the motion to waive the child support. And there have been, I think, 3 times since our divorce in 2018 that I have asked John for help financially. $20 one time, to which he told me no. I think there was another time it was $50 and he's told me no. So I have reminded him a few times, I don't ask for child support. I don't want his money. And I could, especially since I'm not working. And since I'm not working, if I filed for child support, he would have to pay more than he would ever want to pay. But I never wanted him to use my son as a pawn. So I've not done it. And the few times that I have asked him for help and he's told me no, I have reminded him, you're lucky. How many people can say that their ex-spouse doesn't ask them for child support, or doesn't ask them for help? Not many. And so if I ask him for $20 because I'm in a tight spot, I don't think that that's too much to ask. And I don't understand why he cannot occasionally, he went from a 2-income household directly into another 2-income household. I didn't have that luxury because when he left, I was by myself. And then I did lose my job in February of last year. I was out sick and I didn't have the sick leave to cover it anymore. And so I was let go. And then the COVID stuff happened. So I've used the opportunity to get to spend time with my son. I never asked to be a part-time parent, and I hate being a part-time parent. And so I used that as an opportunity to get to spend time with my baby and work on some things around my house. My house is very old and has been severely neglected for a very long time because we always talked about moving. Had I known that he was planning a life with someone else, I would not have relied on us living together and buying a new home together. But silly me, I did. And so I'm trying to make up for lost time. So I used the opportunity with all the COVID stuff, schools shut down anyway. So I said, okay, and that's what I have been doing for the last year or so. As far as the cat goes, so I left my job at the end of February. I applied for unemployment in April. And I did not get my first unemployment payment until October. And when the cat got sick, I woke up in the morning and she was sick. I was, my vet suggested Gates because they're the only place in town that does walk-in. So I was on the phone with Gates and they said that they had to have a $75 office visit, $75 for an office visit. They had to be paid that day. I said, well, I explained to them, my unemployment just got through. I just certified all of these weeks, so I should have that payment anytime. Well, the $75 has to be paid today. Well, I was on the phone with them telling them, okay, where else can I go that would maybe be able to bill me? Well, I was going to go to East Lansing to the vet school. And the cat in the back seat of the car started flopping around and having a seizure, and it scared me. And so the people at Gates told me just bring her here. I said, okay. So I zipped over to Gates. They came out and got her. They sent somebody out to get my information and talk about billing. And I'm on the phone texting, there aren't many people that I'm comfortable asking for help, but I was trying to find somebody. And as I'm sending out a text message, hey, do you have $75 I can borrow and for a day or two? My unemployment will be here any day. The lady at Gates tells me, well, no, it's not it's actually for emergency care. It's $300 for them to work on an animal. And that has okay. And now I'm going from trying to find $75 to $300. And that's when I text John. And because, again, I didn't want to, trust me, but I didn't know who else to ask. If he had the $300 until my unemployment came in. Literally, my unemployment came in, I think, that night. If it wasn't that night, it was early the next day. He didn't respond in the time that the person I was speaking with at Gates went back inside, and somebody else came out and said, even if you had the $300, I think the outcome would be the same, where the cat would have to be put down. And so I made the decision, okay, well, let's go ahead and euthanize her. And after that decision had been made and after she had been put to sleep, they brought her back out to my car and, put her in the back seat. And that's when I text John and said, never mind, she's been euthanized. It wasn't, I don't completely understand his interpretation of how that went, but, the point of it was too late and she had already been put down. I wasn't asking him to give me $300. I was asking for him to help, because they made it sound like that was the only way that they would try to keep her alive, was if I had $300. And I honestly feel that if I'd had it, that they would have maybe tried. but they didn't. I didn't, so they didn't. Thursdays, the visitation on Thursday never should have been put into our custody order. John's days with Jameson from the time we split up was Sunday evening. We essentially kept the same
You know,
schedule
Your
we
Honor,
had
I'm
while
kind
we
of
were
gonna
married.
object at this point.
Hold
know-
hold on. Go ahead.
I mean, she's been kind of rambling and I've kind of let it go, but this Thursdays, whether she wanted it in the order or not is irrelevant. It's in the order. We're going there from then on. So it just
What-
kind of
And I-
like
You know,
moving.
hold on. So why it's in there, whether it's in there, I don't need to hear about. If there is an ongoing problem with the Thursday visits, you can certainly tell me about that.
There is, and that's what I would like to say.
Let me stop you for just a second. My son has got me watching his grill out on my porch, and I see the temperature has gone above where he warned me, so I'm gonna step out there and adjust it a little bit. So I'll be back in about 30 seconds.
Okay.
I don't want his brisket to overcook on my watch. I'm sorry, Ms. Negus, go ahead.
John's days with Jameson are Sunday evening through Wednesday evening. And my time with Jameson is the Wednesday evening through Sunday evening. At the time of our divorce, I was working in downtown Lansing and would work until 5 or 5:30 in the evening. And so I would get back into town around 6 or 6:30. So although Thursday wasn't technically John's day, he would pick him up from daycare or from school and keep him until I got home from Lansing or back into town. For the first year or so after our divorce, you know, I've always tried to be very flexible with Jameson and with John. And on Thursdays, if there was no school or if I was home from work, John wouldn't come over and get Jameson. He wasn't, you know, the 3:30 to 6:30 again was put in there because the days that I was working, John would pick him up. But the days that I was home, he didn't pursue it until this last year. This last year, a lot has changed with John and with his treatment toward me. He got married and it's almost like the two of them team up on me at times. I'm sorry, this is hard to hear him say, you know, he's always told me that I'm a good mom and he's never ever questioned my parenting. So to hear some of the things that he has said, it just absolutely breaks my heart. You know, but when the COVID stuff started, John didn't take it seriously. John has this mindset that something bad might happen to everybody except him, but it won't happen to him. Nothing could happen to him. And I've told him over and over, you know, I've been through enough laws in my life that I know that things could happen to anyone. And I'd asked him to voluntarily give up maybe some of his in-person time, you know, face-to-face time with Jameson until things settled a bit with the COVID or until there was some progress made because of his job and his wife's job. I just, you know, the extra exposure to risk, it's not necessary when Jameson has some place that he can be where I'm not in the face of it every day. And, you know, John refused. He wasn't willing to do anything. The only time he did give up voluntarily was a 2-week period, I believe it was, when they had to be tested because of his wife's work. And during that 2-week time period, they had to self-quarantine. And so during his quarantine time, he did give up he let Jameson stay home with me. And I told him over and over again that anytime he voluntarily gave up with Jameson, that he could make up later. At the time he wanted to, well, when can I make it up? What can we do? Well, how about this schedule? Well, how about that schedule? Well, I'm not committing to anything yet because we don't know how far this is going to go, how long it's going to last. There's just too much unknown. Can we just play it by ear for a while? And then there was a 5-year-old girl over in Detroit that died, who contracted it and died. And her parents were both first responders. They claimed to have been careful, just like John and Haley were claiming to be careful. They actually, and neither one of the parents had ever even contracted it. The little girl hadn't left the house in several weeks, they stated, but somehow still got it and still died from it. And that scared me. And I talked to my attorney, my divorce attorney at the time, and he had advised me a few weeks prior that at this point, with all of the unknown, that I may be in an okay position to keep Jameson home from his dad for a little while, which I have in an email. And after that little girl passed away, and John's just attitude just being so passive, that I did keep Jameson from him one night. I emailed my attorney and told him what I had done, and he responded, "Oh no, wait, you can't do that." And I said, "Well, go back and read your last email to me where you told me that I could." And so I immediately reached out to John and told John that he could to come, that I was misadvised by my attorney and that he could come and get Jameson. As for the time that the 2 weeks that he voluntarily gave up, he spent extra time with Jameson over the summer. They took an extra trip up to his family's cabin in the UP. If my son wants to go be with his dad, I don't deny him that. Christmas was my day to be with him, and he wanted to go with his dad, and I let him, and they were gone all day. And you know what? Was that hard for me? Yeah, but it's what he wanted, and I've never denied my son time with his father. So this thing that John has claimed that I've kept Jameson from him, or he's tried saying that he's not had the opportunity to make up all of the time he lost with Jameson during that 2-week quarantine period. I've asked him, he says that his wife has a spreadsheet where they've been keeping track. And I asked if she would share that with me. And, they said yes, but never have. And so as far as I'm concerned, he has made up that time, unless he has something proving otherwise that I'm forgetting about. No, he's more than made up his time. I don't even, my son, and let me back up. The thing where he says that I shower with my son, he makes things sound so inappropriately gross that it actually turns my stomach. I have not showered with my son for years. Since before I was without running water for a year. I thought I needed to dig a new well, and I didn't have 10 grand laying around to do that. And that was 2 years ago. And so there were times maybe before that I breastfed my son until he was 2.5 years old. So there have been plenty of times over the years where it was easier to hop in the shower with him or whatnot. But as he's gotten older, I most certainly do not. I don't even change in front of him anymore, because I can tell as he's gotten older, he's, the way he's reacted, or the way he's not just my baby anymore. He is a young boy. And so I can pick up on that. I don't undress in front of him. I certainly don't shower. Now, do I go in when he's in the shower and make sure his hair is washed and make sure that he washes his body and stuff? Yes. But do I get in the shower? Absolutely not. And the co-sleeping with Jameson, first of all, John and I you never know how you're going to parent until you become a parent. And I never intended on co-sleeping with my child. And I didn't for the first 2.5 years, because while I was nursing, I could not co-sleep with him. So when it got to the point that he was done nursing and I could sleep through the night with him, without being a human pacifier, without being woken up several times, I did. And I didn't plan on that. And John, I know, didn't like that. After John moved out, there was a time that I had both of our beds in the same bedroom, because most of the time we ended up co-sleeping anyway. And I made the other bedroom his toy room. John didn't tell me he had a problem with that. John didn't tell me that my son was having night terrors and nightmares over at his house. John took it upon himself for him and his wife to take our son to the doctor and to talk to the doctor about Jameson's nightmares. And then he called me and told me that they had done this. Oh, no, I'm sorry. He lied. He said they were at the doctor because Harmony, his stepdaughter, had a doctor's appointment. And since they were there anyway, they went ahead and asked about Jameson's night terrors. And the physician's assistant told them that Jameson's nightmares were caused by the different sleeping patterns between the two homes. Whereas when he's at dad's, he sleeps in his own bed alone. When he's at mom's, him and mom often co-sleep. And that I was causing his night terrors. They had this conversation in front of Jameson to the point where he came home and he told me that Haley told him that I was the reason he was having nightmares at Daddy's house. And that to fix this, what I needed to do was to work on not co-sleeping with him. And then once that had happened, the second phase of helping him with his night terrors would be to give him melatonin. My response to that was, don't you dare give him melatonin, because he doesn't need it. And this physician's assistant. So Jameson had night terrors before John and I ever split, when he slept in his own bed, in his own bedroom, and not in bed with either one of us. He would wake up screaming and crying and have these night terrors and we asked the pediatrician, not the physician's assistant, but his actual doctor. And Dr. Tim said that it's just a thing that can happen sometimes. There's no rhyme or reason, much like Jameson still wetting the bed and wearing pull-ups. Some kids do, some kids don't. It's just something that you deal with until they grow out of it. And so I asked John, what did the physician's assistant say about the night terrors he had a long time ago? Well, we didn't talk about that. Why? Because that doesn't fit your agenda of making me look like I'm doing something wrong. He doesn't have to agree with co-sleeping, but he doesn't have to make it sound so perverse, or that it's bad parenting. But he did lie about taking Jameson to the doctor. They had an appointment that him and his wife had made without having absolutely any discussion with me until after the fact. It's almost like he wants to push me out of Jameson's life as being Jameson's mom, and let them take over. She was married when they started dating, just like he was. Her husband at the time played the dad role to her daughter.
Hannah,
Her
I'm
daughter's
just
not
kind
her
of going to
biological.
object right now. I mean, we're
Yeah, that's.
kind of
that's-
going way out of the realm of what this
Well,
hearing
here's
is
the
for.
thing. They pushed him out of her life, and it feels like they're trying to do the same thing to me that they did to her ex-husband. That's all I was trying to say.
So I've got some specific areas that I'd like to hear from you on. Would you agree that Jameson has a strong bond with both of his parents?
I would say that he has a stronger bond with me than he does with his dad.
Tell me
But yes.
why you think that.
Jameson was never given time to really get used to the transition when dad left, because as soon as dad left, the girlfriend and her daughter moved in, so he never had time with just his dad. He went from mom and dad living together in the same home to all of a sudden having to share dad with these strangers, and now all of a sudden having a sister or a sibling. There aren't many times that, Jameson will talk to me about changes in his body, and oh, look, when he notices things about himself that are changing, he'll make comments to me, and I will go to John and say, John, will you please have a discussion with Jameson about, or has Jameson mentioned anything about, his body parts changing? And that, well, no, he hasn't. So he's more comfortable talking to me about things, even though his dad has the same body parts as him. He'd rather come talk to me. There aren't many times when Jameson's at dad's house that it's just dad and Jameson. And John's admitted to this many times, instead of him going and talking with his son, him and Haley will go and talk. Well, you might want Jameson to be completely comfortable, and he may be completely comfortable with Haley, but I think that he may be a little more comfortable talking to just you versus talking to both of you. But there have been several times that Jameson has said things to me or asked me questions that he doesn't bring up to his dad. And so I think he's more comfortable talking to mom than he is dad.
So, how would you compare your ability to give Jameson love and affection to his father's ability for the same?
I think we're both capable. I think I am definitely a more loving parent than John. As far as, I think a lot of John's parenting is for show. I think that if John truly wanted to spend more time with his son, why doesn't he have his son on nights that he's actually home from work instead of when I've given him the opportunity to take Jameson on nights that he's actually home instead of the nights that he's working third shift, and he refuses. So I think that John's parenting, I think John loves his son, and I know Jameson loves his dad, but I think that John is not authentic. I don't think John is he wants to make me sound like a bad parent because I'll comfort my son. If he's laying down and he says, Mom, I'm scared. Okay. And I'll lay down with him to get him to go to sleep. And then he takes him to the doctor and comes back and tells me that I'm a bad parent for that. You know what I mean? So no, I know John loves his son. The year he got married, after the COVID stuff, John's treatment of me and his flexibility with Jameson has
I
gone
think we're
downhill.
she's rambling again. I mean,
I'm not
I
rambling,
understand
ma'am,
your
and I
question
would like
to her.
Hold on.
I mean,
Let
for
me ask-
over half an
He's made
hour.
some pretty serious allegations, and I'm not allowed to defend myself without her telling me I'm rambling.
Well,
I think I should have an attorney. I need
you
an
are
attorney.
rambling. Today's the day for this hearing.
I need an attorney.
You can't decide in the middle of a hearing
I
if you
need
want
an
an attorney.
Okay.
So let me ask you,
He's disgusting.
How would you compare your ability to attend to Jameson's education to his father's ability to do so?
Well, for the 30 days that I was in jail, Jameson spent more school nights with John's mom than he did actually at home. With me being home, I have the flexibility to do what is needed, whether he's home or whether it's in person, far more than John does, or far better than John does.
Would you agree that religion is not important in either household?
Correct.
Now, I understand from the testimony that you lost your job quite some time ago. Have you made efforts to find a job?
I have.
Do you have any prospects?
I do.
Do you have some
And
interviews scheduled? Do you have an offer pending? I mean, what's your plan for the future?
well, until some of this COVID, I can't very well. I had myself in a position where I could financially take care of myself and my son for at least a year, if not longer, without having to work. My cost of living is very, very low, which again is part of, anyway. Not in a position. I don't get assistance. I don't have John or anybody else helping me financially, but yet my bills are paid. I have food in my fridge, and my son is cared for and taken care of. So when some of this COVID stuff settles down and I can count on him being in school, the 2 days that he's with me, and then I would pursue a couple of these opportunities. I have a friend of mine that recently opened an insurance agency, and I've spoken with her several times in depth about me coming to work with her. But again, things are so touch and go. For example, we just got a call earlier this next week. Northwest will be all virtual learning. So Thursday and Friday, days that he's usually in school all day, he'll be home. And right now I'm really focusing on trying to fix the damage that was done to my home while I was in jail, and B, trying to get through this virtual learning, stuff. And then when things get back to normal, I can look at getting back to normal.
You say your bills are paid.
Yes, sir.
How are you paying your bill? What are you living on?
Well, when I left my job, I cashed out my 401k. I had some money in savings. And then unemployment has been very gracious over the last year. So I think the timing has worked out where I've been able to tuck away quite a bit and save.
Where were you working before you lost your job?
I worked for the state of Michigan.
What did you do?
I worked for their retirement offices, which were in downtown Lansing.
And you lost that job because you exhausted your available sick leave?
John doesn't know this because I don't feel comfortable telling him everything, but after my divorce, I had a very hard time, and I had taken a leave of absence, and then I was in counseling. I was leaving work early 3 days a week for counseling. And so it had gotten to the point where I'd used up my vacation time and sick time. And then I got really sick. I tested positive. I was in my doctor's office on February 23rd or 28th. Tested positive for influenza A, and didn't have the time at work to cover it. So I was home for 2 weeks, sicker than I've ever been in my life. And that was the time that they let me go. When I left, I talked to John about putting Jameson on his insurance because they already had a family plan. It did not cost them any additional money to put Jameson on her insurance. So I asked him if he would do that for me, and he said yes.
So while we're on the subject of your health, are you still dealing with health issues?
My health has been a mess since my husband left me. I've had several colonoscopies for issues there. I have shingles that breaks out about every month. But my mental health is probably took the worst toll from our divorce. John walked out and just left me with no closure, no question, no empathy. He shows no empathy, and I've struggled with that. So while I was working, I was in counseling. When I left my job, I was not in counseling any longer. But while I was in jail, I talked to the counselor in there a few times, and she recommended that I didn't realize that Lifeways had a program in place that was similar to the treatment that I was receiving while I was still at work to deal with PTSD and that. And so I did go to Lifeways. I did talk to them, and I am back to seeing someone once a week.
Has this person or someone else diagnosed you with any kind of a mental health diagnosis?
Just the PTSD. I had already been through so much in my life that when I found out my husband was living a double life for most of the duration of our relationship, it was more than I could handle. Your Honor, I was emancipated when I was 16. I had custody of my younger brother from foster care when I was 22. I'd already been
Again,
through
Your
a lot,
Honor, we're
taken
kind
on
of
a
going
lot.
past what this
I didn't
Yeah.
have
we're
it
talking
in me
about.
to deal with
All right.
John leaving the
All
way he
right.
did.
All right, there's an objection. Suffice it to say, your PTSD doesn't relate solely to the breakup of your marriage. It also relates to a challenging life before that. Is that fair to say?
No, the PTSD was absolutely triggered by my marriage.
And so you until the more recent counseling since the breakup of your marriage, you weren't previously diagnosed with PTSD?
Correct, I was not.
So, Ms. Negus, obviously you've been in front of me a number of times before. I've listened to some of the messages you've left and statements made to Mr. Gates. Clearly, it appears that there are times that you're not able to control yourself. I mean, am I making an unfair assessment there?
I think that assessment is fair, but I would like to say in my defense that it's in response to the times that he's using my son as a pawn. When he kept Jameson from me on the day of his birthday, or when he denied me the ability to go to our son's open house because he wouldn't let me get in the vehicle. That's uncalled for.
Regardless of what the provocation
I know.
is,
That's what I'm learning.
do you agree that it just is not healthy for Jameson to see or hear such things?
Which is why I wish his dad wouldn't use him as a pawn. But I'm tired and I can't fight with him anymore. And I certainly don't want to argue with you anymore. So at this point, whatever you guys think is fair, I can't.
If you had the ability to alter the schedule you have with your son, how would you alter it, or would you?
Well, I would ask that he go and spend the night at his dad's house on nights that his dad is actually home from work. So dad works Monday, Tuesday nights. So maybe Wednesday and Thursday nights. I don't know how he would want to work that out, but and I would ask that those 3 hours on Thursday that, again, if I would ask that those 3 hours on Thursday be removed.
So your proposal would be to reduce the amount of time with dad and make sure that the time that he's at dad's is when dad is home.
Correct. Not, yeah, I've offered for John those 3 hours on Thursday. Can we move them to another day? Can we figure out something else to do with them so that you're not interrupting our Thursday afternoon? For example, yesterday, Jameson and I had the day, because they're on spring break, except that our afternoon is interrupted because from 3:30 to 6:30, John comes to pick him up and take him. And then he takes him, he doesn't even take him home to spend time with him. He picks him up from my house and takes him immediately over to his mom's and drops him off, picks him up and brings him back home. I've tried getting in touch with my divorce attorney because the first right of refusal is supposed to be in my custody order, but it is not. And John refuses to do it. But
All right, I need to give Ms.
There's
Berger the opportunity to question you. I want to do that now.
Okay. So Diane, you said it's John's inability to communicate with you that's causing all of these issues. Is that correct?
no, I said that John has a repeatedly demonstrated his inability to communicate, hence our divorce. But I don't understand why, when he has a problem with my parenting or something I'm doing, why he doesn't address that problem with me directly.
Okay. Have you listened to the communications you have with John? I
Yes,
don't think
ma'am.
anybody could communicate with you. How is he supposed to communicate with you when you're screaming at the top of your lungs?
Because those conversations, what you're hearing is very one-sided. I have begged and pleaded for John to communicate with me and he doesn't, and that's what prompts my getting upset.
Okay, so it's because John does something that you fly off the handle, threaten to kill him, get in the way. So it's nothing you've ever done. Nothing is
It
your
is a
fault.
direct response to his treatment of me, yes.
Okay, nothing is your fault.
I didn't say that.
Okay, so you agree you threatened to kill him.
After he used my son as a pawn, yes.
That's my question. How is he using your son as a pawn?
Because I asked the 3 hours on Thursday. Thursday was the day the cat was put down. I said, can Jameson, and I never asked, for the record, to pick Jameson up early from school that day. What I asked was, can Jameson come home at 3:30 instead of going to your house so that we can bury his cat who had to be put down earlier? And John's response was, no, I'll see you at 6:30. So, okay, I have to sit here with this deceased cat because you're deciding that your son can't come home and say goodbye and bury him. But how is that Jameson's best interest?
Okay, so you're mad that John was wanting to exercise his parenting time.
Unreasonably, yes.
Okay.
They didn't have anything planned. There was absolutely no reason.
That's not what I'm asking. That's not what I'm asking. So John is using your son as a pawn because he wants to exercise the parenting time he has.
No, because he wants me to get upset so that he can record me, so that he can try to get a PPO, so that he can drag me through the mud, and so that he can do all these things that he's doing now. Because in his mind, if Jameson spends more time with him than he does me, then I can't go after him for child support. This is all financially driven, 100%, I promise.
And you're well aware that you can go ask for support at any time because you keep threatening at him. You just haven't.
Yes.
So that's on you.
And I want him to understand that I could and that I choose not to. So why don't you treat me a little bit better? Because I'm treating you more than decent.
Okay. So let's,
especially considering what I've been through.
Okay. So your house sounds like it's in pretty much a disarray right now. Things are always have broken, so they're not really functioning that well.
That's absolutely incorrect. I work my butt off to make sure that my home is put together and functioning. So I don't appreciate that accusation at all.
Well, I'm just saying, because you said the water's broke, the water heater, the furnace, all of this stuff got destroyed. So that's not at all what I said, ma'am. So please don't put words in my mouth.
Okay. I said that I had 5.5, 6 inches of water around those new appliances,
Okay,
but they all work.
okay,
It was just a mess to clean up.
okay,
I've had to rebuild some of the walls in my kitchen. I have had to put floor jacks in my basement to jack up the floor. Put plumbing in to replace stuff that was broken. But I do these things on the 3 days that my son is with his dad.
Okay.
So I'm busting my butt in those 3 days. And then when my son comes home, my house is put back together, and yes, it is functioning.
okay. So then that kind of leads me to a question, because you said you quit your job, or kind of had to because you took off too many days from work. Okay, then you went for a long period of time without any income, but you cashed out your 401k.
Correct.
Okay, and you understand John was entitled to half of that amount.
There was an order to vacate that quadro on file when I cashed out my 401k.
That's not exactly true, but doesn't matter. So
there is, and we've got documentation of that, Ms. Berger.
So
he submitted it. You submitted it to my retirement company.
Hold on. Any issue with the quadro or accounts were resolved?
Okay, yeah. So, and that's fine, because we've got another that's doing. So you've not tried to find work. You haven't tried to go back to the state of Michigan, correct?
That's not correct.
Okay, so what have you done to find a job?
Well, I just explained that a friend of mine has recently opened an insurance agency. And
what would
her
you
and
be
I
doing?
have discussed. I'm sorry?
What would you be doing then?
What does that matter, ma'am?
It's a fair question, Ms. Megan.
Okay, I would
answer it.
Until I'm certified by the state of Michigan, I would essentially be an office clerk.
Okay.
While I'm going through my training to get certified.
Okay. So then you can be an office clerk anywhere else, correct? So you could go through a staffing agency and go into an office setting and be a clerk. You could go apply for all of these other jobs that are available at this time. You just haven't done anything.
I'm choosing not to because I have myself in a financial situation where I can afford to take care of my home, myself, and my son. Now, can I afford these extra attorney fees and filing fees and $4,000 for a lawyer and the $700 that was spent in jail? No, not easily. But my finances are not in a way that my son is not taken care of. So I don't understand why we keep coming back to them.
Okay. So then
my
let's
son
go
is
back
cared
to
for, my bills are paid. So
let's go back to the school then. So you were indicating that Jameson kind of does stay home because you're too sore to get up.
No, I did not, ma'am.
Okay.
You're putting words into my mouth and I would like it.
So you said you're quite often sore and he misses the bus.
No, he doesn't even take the bus.
Okay. So sorry if I got that wrong. So you were saying that you had a hard time getting up in the morning because you were too sore sometimes.
I said, no, I did not relate his being home from school to my health issues in any way. You're doing that. What I said was, on the day that he is home, did I have a sore back? Sure, I always do. Is it tough for me to get? And when he sees that and he comes, oh, Mom, let me help you. Okay, sweetie. And I pretend I'm leaning on him as we walk to the kitchen to get something to eat. I'm letting him think he's helping me, but it has absolutely nothing to do with why I'm keeping him home. If my son, and he just did it earlier today, when he walked into the bathroom where the sunlight was extremely bright, and oh, Mom, this hurts my eyes. I have a headache. And I said, okay. And I'm asking him a couple of questions, but you have to understand, in the face of COVID, when my son says he has a headache or his belly doesn't feel good, I don't send him to school. I can keep him home. He can do his learning virtually if he has to, and monitor him to make sure he's okay.
Did you ever take him to the doctor for it then?
No. Does John ever take him on the days that he's thrown up, which he never does at my house, but he will randomly throw up at John's house and be kept home for the day? John, have you ever taken him to the doctor when he's done that?
Okay.
Hold on. You can't ask questions now. It's your turn to testify.
Okay.
So did you tell him that Jameson didn't wake you up one time And so he missed going to school, or he was late going to school.
I slept through the alarm and Jameson heard the alarm.
Like when you were threatening to kill him, you called.
No, he was not. He was not within earshot.
You called, you were telling John to tell Jameson why he's sending you to jail.
That's a
And
completely different conversation.
Doesn't matter. You think that's okay for your
No.
child to hear you telling them.
No, I was home alone with my son when we had our last hearing on New Year's Eve, in which the judge told me that the police were on their way to my house to pick me up and take me to jail. His exact words, they were coming over right now and they were going to pick me up. I was scared to death. I was, and I was crying. And yes, I was in front of Jameson, and I had Jameson call his dad, and I wanted his dad to explain to him why his mom was going to be in jail for 30 days.
So why do you think that appropriate to tell your son you're going to jail?
Why? Because I'm not going to lie to my son. I'm not going to. I told John from the very beginning of our divorce, I'm not keeping his secrets, and his lies are not my problem.
Okay.
I'm not going to lie to my son to keep John happy.
Okay.
I've never been away from my son for that long. Never. And I didn't know what else to say to him other than.
And that's all John's fault as well, right?
No, and if you, first of all, and I've asked John here just the other day, John doesn't tell me if my son is around or within earshot and you've got me on speakerphone so you can record me, please let me know, because I will most certainly speak to you differently if I know that there are children who can hear me versus if I think it's just us, because I can separate anyway. John didn't tell me that Jameson was there or that I was on speaker. He didn't tell me that his stepdaughter was in the truck the day that I confronted him at his mom's, because he kept me from John Jameson's open house.
You couldn't see that a child was in the backseat of the car.
No.
Attempting to.
No, ma'am. I swear on everything I heard. I thought I heard both kids in the house, and I thought both children were in the house. And I think that it is rather strange that John would not say, if somebody was acting inappropriately in front of my child, I would absolutely address it and say, excuse me, you need to watch yourself. At no point did either one of them tell me that that little girl was in that truck. Why? Because it fit their agenda to say, oh, she acted like this in front of Harmony.
Okay, so
that's uncalled for. Absolutely uncalled for. And they let this little girl walk around being terrified of me. And I have never done anything to her. I have never acted inappropriately to her. When I go and get Jameson on Fridays, I've had that discussion with his teacher. He comes down to the office while they're lining up to come outside, so that I don't have to see John and Haley take Harmony and scurry the other way as if I'm some big, mean, bad guy. That's not fair to do to her, and it's not fair to do to me.
All right. So I have another question I just thought of, because you're complaining that John had an affair during the marriage, so you must have as well.
Several.
Okay, I know, but you must have as well, because you told John that Jameson wasn't his child.
I have told John that a few times, but I've said that to hurt John. I have said that because I wish John would just leave me and my son alone. I don't think he has Jameson's best intention. John's an admitted sex addict, and John's a sociopath. And I am scared to death that my son is going to turn out just like him, and I don't know what to do about it.
Okay. So you blame John for, according to what you said, your PTSD is all related to John, but that's not true, because unfortunately you brought it up, you were sexually abused as a child. So your PTSD stems from years and years ago, not just what John allegedly has done to you.
Well, no, ma'am. I had been through a lot. I was sexually abused when I was little. I was dealing with my past and with things just perfectly fine when I met John. I raised my brother. When my brother graduated high school, I started going to college. while John and I were together, I graduated. Jameson was born in May. I graduated a week later, a couple weeks later, and with what, a 3.9, I think, GPA. I started working for the state toward the end of my degree, getting my degree, and was doing perfectly fine. What I wasn't prepared to deal with was finding out that after living a life that was pretty difficult, and then thinking that I'd finally gotten a break and found peace and was loved unconditionally, and to find out none of that was true, was a jolt to my system that just doesn't go away.
All right, you're on. I don't have anything else.
I was fine until
So, one area that we did not touch on with Mr. Gates that I want to hear about is what his work schedule is like.
Yeah, I was going to go ahead and do that, but that's fine. I can have him address that now.
I work a split schedule, so I work Monday night at midnight until Tuesday morning at 8 a.m. And then Tuesday night at midnight to Wednesday morning at 8 a.m. During
Right,
that,
hold on a minute. So Monday midnight to Tuesday at 8 a.m., Tuesday midnight until Wednesday at 8 a.m.?
yes, sir. And my wife is home during the time that I'm working, and then I sleep while the kids are in school and pick them up and spend the afternoon, evenings with them. And then I also work 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. on Saturdays and Sundays.
your wife wasn't home with them that Wednesday morning, so she's not there every day.
Ma'am,
You admitted
you can't
that.
just blurt things out, okay?
Okay.
I'll give you a chance to question, but you gotta wait till it's your turn. And this is your schedule every week.
I'm sorry, sir, you cut out.
I'm sorry, this schedule that you just gave me, Monday night, Tuesday night, Saturday, and Sunday, you work that same schedule every week? I mean,
Yes,
barring vacation, something?
Correct. As it sits right now, yes.
How long has that schedule been in place?
It's been probably a couple of years now that I've been on that schedule. We have a seniority-based bid system, so I bid my schedule every 56 days, but I'm the senior sergeant, so this is the schedule that works best for me and for my time with Jameson.
So this is a schedule that's not likely to change unless you want it to change.
As it stands right now, yes, but with a new administration down here, they're talking about putting the sergeants on 12-hour, straight 12-hour shifts, but I don't know when that's going to happen.
Okay. Ms. Negus, did you want to ask him a question about that schedule?
He's not being completely honest or upfront, because there are times where his wife is not home with the kids. The incident where Jameson thought he was home alone was a time that she wasn't home.
I heard that testimony. I was only focusing on the hours that he works.
Okay.
Did you have any questions about that?
No, I've tried to be more than flexible with him.
All right. Ms. Berger, were there any other areas that you wanted to develop in rebuttal?
The only one question I have is, obviously Diane keeps bringing it up that you guys left the kids at home alone, maybe one time. What was that about?
My wife is in the police academy also, so she leaves for school on Wednesday mornings early, but my sister-in-law, who lives with us and is basically a live-in babysitter for us when she isn't working, so her work days are opposite our work days, so that she's home with the kids when we can't be for some reason. But on that particular Wednesday, Haley did leave for school, but Kelsey, my sister-in-law, was there at the house. The kids were never home alone at any point.
You actually had that discussion with Diane too, right?
Yes,
That
I
was through
did.
text.
Yes, I did.
Okay. I don't have anything else.
Okay, thank you. So it's nearly 4 o'clock. One of the best interest factors is the reasonable preference of the child. Jameson is 6, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
My experience in the past in talking to 6-year-olds is typically it's not helpful to me. What I usually hear from kids is that they love both their parents and they want to be with both of their parents. And I ask them, you know, would you change the schedule? Would you like to live more with mom or more with dad? I get a shrug of the shoulders. With older kids, it's different, but with 6-year-old kindergartners, I don't get much out of it. I don't know how you parents feel about whether you think I should talk to Jameson about what his preference would be. I would think not, but I want to hear from both of you on that issue.
No, Your Honor, I think your assessment is spot on with him.
Ms. Negus?
I would absolutely love to have you ask him, because I think that he would tell you that he wouldn't want to spend more time at mom's, but I don't want to subject him to that. He doesn't need to be brought into this at this age. So I would have to agree with John for now.
Okay, thank you. Normally, I like to rule on these right at the time. Unfortunately, we're out of time. So I think what I'm going to do instead is just issue a written decision and you'll get a copy of it. So thank you. Hope you all have a nice weekend.
You too.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Go check the brisket.
Yes, he's back. I think I managed to salvage it. It was starting to spike in the temperature, but I got it just in time.
All right. Well, have a happy Easter,
All right.
everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Same to you all.
Bye.
So there you go, Shannon. I got you out of here in plenty of time.
All righty. Well,